嗨，大家好，我是坦平叔。今天是2025年3月15号，这一期咱们继续胡聊胡适、胡指、胡 A 还有胡一静老师今天是周末，胡适也没什么消息。我们今天看一看美国的经济。最近美股似乎正在回撤，但是有人说这是美股见顶了，美国经济要衰退，各种说法都有。美国的一个知名投资人他评论美股，他说市场终于开始意识到，不是特朗普衰退，而是新总统需要美国衰退，什么关税、效率部都是他的手段。这个投资人他说，特朗普和美国最差的总统胡佛做了同样的事，说上任初期都很受支持者的追捧，3项措施把美国拖入经济大萧条，一个是增加关税，把市场留给美国制造；二是驱逐移民，把工作留给自己人；三是大幅减税，试图重振工商制造业，后面就导致全球大萧条。这个就是美国的这3项政策。那么这3个政策呢，巧了，特朗普正在做。那特朗普知不知道这个曾经的这3项政策导致美国衰退，导致世界大衰退、大萧条？我想他应该知道。那为什么还这么干？这个投资人他说，美股历史上3个巅峰都是在共和党总统的治下崩盘。他说1928年这个胡佛上台就迎来了大萧条，1973年尼克松见证 50% 的暴跌，2008年小布什他的政策助燃金融危机。那现在作为共和党总统特朗普重返白宫，是不是意味着第4次美股崩盘？他这个特朗普接手近150年最强牛市如最高估值，这个时候本应该小心翼翼，但是特朗普却大刀阔斧推出无数项激进政策，美股想不崩盘都难。另外说，历史数据显示共和党总统任内经济平均增长低于 1.2%， 衰退次数是民主党3倍。这个特朗普曾经自己也说过，他说美国经济最好在12个月内就崩溃。我可不想成为胡佛总统。大家看视频。
If they can slow down the economy, remember, Stan Druckenmiller, one of my favorite investors of all time, his point is no inflation cycle that got above 6% has ever been killed without 5, 6, 8% unemployment. You can't kill inflation with massive fiscal spending. You just can't do it. And that's what the Biden team tried to do. And it just hurts the little guy because the bottom part of consumers get absolutely crushed with inflation. And so the Trump team knows this, so they need to get a recession. They need to cause a recession in order to get rates down and term out the debt. And that would even the playing field, because if inflation comes down, that's going to actually be better for the bottom 60% of consumers, right? And so they would get inflation down. And so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to basically do a slow walk toward a recession. That's why the market's acting so weird this week, because everybody's digesting this. The Trump team behind the scenes knows about these structural problems with the Treasury market. You have to term out the debt. You've got massive inequality with inflation hurting the bottom 60% of consumers. So that's where the market now is just trying to digest this shift from, massive growth expectations, steeper curve, to now the curve is flattening dramatically. Recession risk is being priced in the SOFR market. So if you look at the interest rates futures, and we're going from really a massive expectation of, say, 5-6% GDP to a possible contraction.
You mentioned the yield curve. A lot of talk too about the reinversion. What do you make of what's happening as it relates to the yield curve? Is that also one of these recessionary signals out there?
Yes. So we have a model, but we also have a model that measures the rate of change on the curve, on oil prices, and we also look at the transports, for example. So if you look the last 3-4 weeks, whenever you see the transports dramatically underperforming, and then at the same time, the staples, consumer staples, which are recession-proof stocks, dramatically outperforming consumer discretionary, and at the same time, you have a pretty violent move in bond yields lower, flattening of the curve, and at the same time, you have oil moving lower. Those 4 together, if you measure the rate of change, which our model does, you can get a signal that's very powerful, because the last time we saw this type of signal was February of 2020, and that was in late February 2020, the Nasdaq was ripping, but the transports were rolling over hard, and they're economically sensitive companies. Bonds were rallying viciously. Oil was coming down, and the staples, the consumer staples, which are those recession-proof stocks like soap and cosmetics, things that you need, alcohol. The XLP was dramatically outperforming the XLY, which is consumer discretionary stocks. So when those four things line up together and are going the same way with a fast rate of change, that tells you the beast in the market. Markets are speaking. They're telling us something every day, and that serpent inside the market's telling us that the probability of recession is screaming high.
Wait, maybe it sounds like they need like that. Maybe it's the short-term pain for the longer term to solve some of our longer-term challenges.
Exactly, and that's what Musk and Trump are trying to accomplish. I mean, what they're trying to do is, think about what they said this week. What they said is so nuts, and I don't even know if they really meant. They basically told us with high conviction that they're going to have $1 trillion cut out of it. So right now we're spending $7 trillion a year, and Musk said, "Well, we got to get that down to 6." You can't go in 1 year from what we call right now the deficit annual is around 7% of GDP, and the developed world is around 3%. At 3, so that's what's created all this American exceptionalism. This strong economy. But if you go from spending $7 trillion a year total down to 6, and you try to do that in 1 year, you're going to create a very, very nasty recession. And so they're trying to do things that should be done over 5 to 10 years, because unfortunately, when your fiscal spending is this high and you reverse it that fast, it creates a vicious cyclical turn that can be really intimidating for the market. Now it's very clear the road that they're heading down is what's called financial repression. They want to massage interest rates below the rate of inflation. By massaging interest rates, getting them down either through talking to our trading partners, hey, Canada, Mexico, or more so Japan, Germany, you're going to have to own more treasuries at lower interest rates, and you're going to be our friend. If you want to be on our team, that's what you're going to have to do. Oh, by the way, go to the banking regulators, force the U.S. banks to own more treasuries. Financial repression, try to suppress interest rates below the rate of inflation. That's how you get out of a $37 trillion debt hole. There's no way out besides default, or what we call a debt jubilee, or financial repression, massaging interest rates over time below the rate of inflation. Then you'll inflate your way out. And that's the agenda of I think, the Trump Treasury, and I think that's what the Fed wants.
We have some people now starting to say the indications about a coming recession are going up, including Torsten Slok from Apollo, somebody who came out with a note today saying the probabilities of a recession are going up. Is that what your numbers show you?
It's early. I do think that we're seeing kind of the hangover from this excess spending in the Biden 4 years. We're going to re-privatize the economy, and as we bring down government spending, and get the private sector moving again, that may not be a perfect one-to-one ratio, but I'm sure it's going to happen. President Trump said the other day, someone said, well, when does it become your economy? He said probably 6 or 12 months out. I think I would agree with that.
实际上咱们这个频道也不推荐大家炒美股，因为我本人关注美股就少，不太关心。关注美股是因为偶尔关心，也是因为咱们要看胡适，经常要对比一下。所以胡适的美股涨跌似乎跟咱们关系不大，但是美国经济衰退跟咱们还是有关系的。美国经济如果衰退，那对咱们肯定不是什么好事。你要说从竞争角度，什么大国竞争这些，我们说的是跟我们韭菜相关的，就是你的生活。那么如果美国衰退，那可能会导致全球都在衰退。一个本身我们也要衰退，我们的经济复苏这是不是就难上加难？第二个，你的外贸恐怕就更难，关税完了之后，人家经济衰退的购买力、消费能力都在下降，对咱们这个世界工厂恐怕这不就更难？新能源汽车卖给谁？你制造的手机卖给谁？马桶、尿不湿，别人都要节约着用。经济消退，人家也要勒紧裤腰带，所以你看，这对咱们肯定是不利的。另外一个就是美国如果经济正在衰退，那对美元恐怕就有影响，对美元的指数、美元汇率有影响，这个也会影响到咱们对美元的配置。所以说，美国的经济到底会不会衰退？这个值得大家关注啊！我的经验，我的观察，我认为美国到现在为止，除了特朗普和马斯克搞的这一套鸡飞狗跳，但是美国的基本面似乎没有什么太大变化。虽然特朗普一会儿加关税，一会儿取消，一会儿加，来回改， 消耗了美国的信誉。但是因为美国它是科技兴国啊，它主要是科技和金融，似乎对它的科技影响也不是太大。至少目前，我认为目前美国的基本面没有特别恶化。那现在美股暴跌，我理解的里面有情绪的部分，就是美国资本人家拿脚投票，先走为上。毕竟大家都赚了钱，你要反全球化，你要干关税一加，所以这些资本都提前出逃。毕竟很多人都赚了钱，他走了10几年的牛市，一直慢牛。而你短期现在前不久进入的，或者是特朗普当选以后的那些新进入的股民，恐怕有损失可能还比较大。但是你是大前年，你任何一个时候进去的，现在恐怕都不会赔钱，那人家肯定割肉跑，落袋为安了。所以我认为美股它多少有一些非理性的情绪部分在里面。反过来，也就是如果你要认为美国未来经济没问题，那现在反而是捡便宜筹码的时候。我们再看看我们的胡锡进老师，这胡锡进老师刚消停几天，现在又开始为他的额跌鼓如呼了。在说胡锡进老师如何跪舔、夸奖、赞美这个普京的之前，我们还先看看他。这胡锡进老师对现在这是文理科，不是复旦大学要压缩文科吗？很多大学要扩招。胡锡进老师他也写了个评论，说现在就断言文科今后越来越没用，未来的世界理工科为王还为时尚早。他这个整个评论我看了之后，我感觉这个胡锡进老师是不是在给我充电了？他写的跟我上一次不做了个节目，昨天吗？基本上一样。最后胡锡进说你看这观点是不是基本一致他说老胡无非想说的是，随着大学文理科开展必要调整，在新体系下选择了文科的同学们完全不用悲观。他如果有些同学就是对理工科不开窍，也根本不用慌张，把你们的无论经济学、法学还是哲学、心理学认真学好学精了，保持你们活跃的创造性思维和你们对生活的热爱和乐观，你们的前途会与理科生同样光明。实际上在大学还是学一个自己喜欢的就行，总有一天你会明白这个道理。如果你喜欢这个专业，你至少大学4年你不会浪费，你恐怕学的稍微认真一点。虽然说大学学的东西恐怕真正的到了这个工作岗位好像也没什么用，但毕竟你是多看了4年书。这个关于文理科咱就不说了，我们要重点聊一聊胡锡进老师又是如何跪舔俄父。现在不是大家都认为俄乌的停火协议要停火，那乌克兰跟美国达成一致愿意停火30天，相当于把球踢给普京了。咱们做节目也说了胡锡进老师非常兴奋，他说不能不说，弗拉基米尔·普京是这轮大博弈的高手，也是所占位置比特朗普还高的操盘手。他扩大了俄方战场上的好处，同时又把握了特朗普的情绪，使俄方处于全面有利的位置上。普京周四赞扬了特朗普主张的30天停火计划，称它伟大而正确。同时他提出了俄方必然会要求的一些条件，而那些条件在西方舆论看来是乌克兰不可能接受的。整个西方舆论都在抨击俄方的先决条件是对停火的拖延战术，但是特朗普的最初反应却相当积极。他称普京的讲话立场非常积极，令人鼓舞。尽管他同时认为普京对停火的态度不彻底，如果俄罗斯不同意停火，世界会很失望，但他没有使用任何批评的字眼，比他前一天威胁如果俄方拒绝停火，美国可以摧毁俄罗斯经济的那番表态要温和正面的很多。这后面胡锡进老师写的非常长。这个胡锡进老师认为特朗普他把所有的好处给了俄罗斯，说土地归你们，北约肯定不让乌克兰进了，而且北约的作用也将削弱，另外对俄制裁将取消，俄将有尊严地重返国际社会。特朗普非常大方地告诉普京，我给你们的比你们从战场上能够得到的还要多得多。特朗普觉得这个超级大礼包足以让莫斯科感激涕零，他们对停火的急切和支持要比乌克兰和欧洲还积极坚定。胡锡进老师在吹讽说，普京作为俄最高领导人，说他自己说话不是那么明白，但是通过他的助手们 把这些和谈条件、什么信息释放，形成俄方声调复杂但主旨目标非常明确的态度。普京会继续买特朗普的面子，不与他直接冲突。他已经表示愿与特朗普直接通电话。最后，胡锡进老师说，也正是因为特朗普没有选择，这一点被普京看透了，所以俄方这一段时间行动充分自信，挥洒自如。对侵略者这种赞美，这种夸奖，这个毫不掩饰啊，丝毫没有什么。你不要说谴责吧，你至少不要舔得这么明白啊，这就是跪舔。胡锡进这篇微博确实看了让人想吐，满篇都是对普京的跪舔，字里行间啊透着一股子普京无敌的迷之崇拜啊。胡锡进老师这个说是在评论国际局势，实际上就是在给普京唱赞歌，恨不得把普京皮鞋给他舔得更亮，把这个普京吹得天花乱坠，说他是大国博弈的高手、操盘手，比特朗普要高得多，战场的主动权也掌握在手，谈判想咋玩就咋玩。实际上啊，这普京也就是老奸巨猾，特朗普确实有偏袒俄罗斯、偏袒普京的这个成分在里面，所以他把压力都给到了泽连斯基，至少到现在为止，他没有说给俄罗斯采取什么措施。这个普京也同意停火，但是从哪一天算起，他可没说。反正你特朗普说24小时停火，也没有说从哪天开始。咱这停火30天开始的日子，哪天停火再容商量，慢慢商量。这就是我说的，这普京学会了接话发。这胡锡进跪舔普京，说普京边打边谈，非常有策略，还说这是国际政治的通用逻辑，谁打得赢谁就强势。这话听着啊好像挺硬气的，但是啊，胡锡进老师似乎忘了啊，俄罗斯这3年打得怎么样，有多狼狈。乌克兰一个大国，就这么大的一个小国啊，硬是拖住了俄罗斯。俄罗斯无论是国内的经济还是外交，都是一塌糊涂啊，在外部简直是崩塌。中东他的小弟们已经分道扬镳，死的死，逃的逃，已经是苟延残喘。在叙利亚，他的基地，他的这个势力已经被清除出叙利亚，现在连俄罗斯他都不敢出，他只敢去几个国家，因为全世界都在抓他。胡锡进老师啊，他把特朗普跟普京之间的猫腻，他认为这是文明世界对俄罗斯的接纳，说俄罗斯啊要重返什么国际主流社会。这个时候，胡锡进老师也把这个美国特朗普又当作国际主流社会了，不再是日益没落的、腐朽堕落的美西方。问题是，对吧？即便胡锡进老师把美国当作文明社会，一改常态，那不代表欧洲他也接纳美国、俄罗斯。这一仗打下来，俄罗斯还能融入欧洲吗？基本上没希望了，不可能再融入欧洲。他已经把整个欧洲全得罪了。他重返哪个舞台？俄罗斯人心心念念的想加入欧洲，想让欧洲人承认他是欧洲人，不是亚洲人。可惜，也就是说，无论特朗普和普京两人怎么交易，这俄罗斯已经输了。所以胡锡进老师他看不到这些，他只看到这个普京所装出来的那种样子，叫外强中干呢。表面上似乎游刃有余，闲庭信步，实际上非常着急，急着要和谈，要和平，要停火。他现在不停火的原因是因为特朗普断了乌军的军援之后，给库尔斯克的乌军造成了很大的压力。这个俄军趁机发起了对乌军的大规模的反攻，只不过是在库尔斯克，这个俄军目前似乎很有利。在这种情况下，你说普京他当然不愿意马上就停火，他还要占点便宜。等到他在库尔斯克也打不动了，损失惨重，这个时候他就要谈停火了，就这么简单，哪有什么博弈？这胡锡进老师无非是这种跪舔普京，说白了就是强权崇拜，说白了就还是下大棋，认为普京在下一盘很大的棋，把普京描述成外交上面游刃有余。胡锡进老师还在推崇叫谁船头硬谁有理，谁打赢了谁牛，完全不顾战争的代价和道义，把这个侵略者这种侵略描述成什么战略高明，乌克兰就成了棋盘，这个俄军那些士兵就成了棋子，对吧？乌克兰抵抗侵略，在胡锡进老师看来，那叫战败国待遇，对吧？这种为侵略伸张的这种立场，为强权狡辩呢，这基本上连 一点脸面都不要了。胡锡进老师断言说，特朗普很难对普京彻底翻脸，说那是对他自己乌克兰路线的否定。设想一下，如果他哪天掀翻桌子，回到拜登时期的对俄强硬路线，那将是多大的笑话。这个说明胡锡进老师既不懂特朗普，对吧，又不懂普京，就是盲目跪舔。特朗普还在乎笑话吗？特朗普说泽连斯基是独裁者，对吧？第二天记者问他，他说我说过吗？我怎么可能那么说呢？所以特朗普做什么？早上要加关税，到了下午暂停，关税不加了，第二天早上一醒又要加，不仅要加还要加倍，到下午他又变了，走一步三个主意，对他来说有什么负担吗？没有负担。断了对乌克兰的军事援助，现在他又恢复了，怎么了？这个胡锡进老师看不见，他就赌特朗普自己不好意思，你既然对乌克兰那样了，你就只能对俄罗斯好下去，你得迁就将就普京，你不可能像拜登那样对俄罗斯继续强硬，你这个就闹个大笑话。特朗普在乎笑话吗？恐怕特朗普又要让胡锡进老师失望了。胡锡进老师前不久还高呼俄罗斯熬出来了，现在继续给侵略者打气。不过啊，胡锡进老师恐怕忘了忽略了乌克兰人是愿意打下去的。你普京不听我正好，美国和乌克兰已经达成协议，对吧？继续援助乌克兰，那就打吧。所以我说啊，普京实际上是非常着急，想停火，但是又盯着战场上那一点利益，他现在有点优势，就这点小算盘了。最关键的是周五胡适大幅度上涨，这一次估计胡锡进老师没少赚钱，所以又有点飘了。金钱埋没了胡锡进老师的人性，当然了，这也是暂时的啊，因为他这个钱很快也要还回去，连本带利。那个时候胡锡进老师的人性恐怕又恢复一点。好，这期节目我们就聊到这里，感谢大家收看。如果喜欢我的节目，欢迎订阅转发，也可以在下方留言评论，谢谢大家。